Feel me when I
Oh my God.
feel me, yeah.
Dude.
Primal Chaos.
Hey guys, Primal Chaos here. Welcome to the channel. Quite a while ago, well, probably a month or so ago, I did a deep dive into the world of beatboxing, which is not really my wheelhouse. It's not something I was super familiar with. It's something I've always had a lot of regard for, like as far as like the talent and ability, and occasionally things have crossed my path that blew my mind as far as, you know, the things people are able to vocalize and rhythms and stuff you can create with your voice. But I noticed I'd never really done that on this channel before. And so I grabbed a video by Jiro, analyzed that, and to my surprise, it was really engaging, really interesting, and it broke down a lot of preconceived notions I had about beatboxing in general. And, you know, as an audience, you guys were really good at filling me in on details and letting me know sort of things that I maybe had some incorrect notions about. And that's really good. And so, you know, that always makes me want to do more. And this is one that sort of popped up on my TikTok. I saw a fraction of this the other day, and I thought, you know what, I should make a note to try and find that and take a look at it properly, because again, I don't profess to have any knowledge at all about the world of beatboxing. And I know that there's going to be people who are the upper echelon, the top tier ones, but as a complete layperson, especially if you're the kind of person who's deeply involved in beatboxing, sometimes hearing from the actual lay people who don't know all of the great beatboxers and don't know all of the advancements and achievements that have been made over the last few years in the art and stuff like that. Sometimes it's interesting to sort of check in with people who don't know all that stuff and just see, you know, take the temperature, take the pulse of what's happening from the perspective of everyone outside the genre. You know, and this looked like a cool one because it's, you know, it popped up on my TikTok feed and it seemed really interesting. The little snippet I heard on TikTok was really interesting, and I had some thoughts on it, and I thought I could probably look into that deeper and have something to say about it. I'm going to dive right in. Before I do, I just want to say this video is brought to you today in part by Enchroma. Enchroma make glasses for colorblind people like myself. If you suspect you're colorblind, or if you know someone who is, click the link in my description. It'll take you to their website where you can get a free eye test, find out what sort of deficiency you have, and maybe pick up a pair of glasses that'll help you see the world a little bit more like everyone else. We've all seen the viral ads for it and stuff like that, or the viral videos people put up. I really love them. I wear mine every day. Without further ado, let's jump right in. So this is Taurus Stanin, The Hills, a weekend beatbox cover. Here we go.
Yeah, man on the low, he doing promo. You said keep our business on the low. I'm just trying to get you out the friend zone, 'cause you look even better than the photos. Now send me the info.
Right. Already. The coordination just baffles me. Right. So he's singing, like I've heard people do beatboxing before and throw in vocals or like a, you know, a bass line over the top of rhythm and stuff like that. And it always blows my mind to have that sort of coordination. And I think in order to do it at this level, it has to become like a instinct. It's got to be, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of practice that goes into this. Like when you go, I might do that song and you practice bits and stuff like that. But I feel like innately you just have to have the instinct and the muscle memory to be able to pull yourself just for one beat, pull yourself out of the singing the vocal and the lyric to throw in a snare hit, right? And you have to have the presence of mind to be able to make those choices as you go along and go, okay, so I've got to have like a snare hit right here or an effect here. And so you got to, like the vocal is going to take a back seat to that rhythmic part just for that one beat. And just to be able to switch between those concepts and different vocalizations, different voices that sound like the original vocals being filtered, it's just mind blowing. It's mind blowing. I'm going to start again because a lot comes at you, right? Even just the very first sound that comes out of his mouth. And also I will say this is a perfect video for checking this out because you can see every articulation he's making with his teeth and his lips and his tongue to produce these sounds. Like the snare sound on one part I noticed was unusual because it sounded like it was almost a sucking motion. Like I could see his tongue curling like this, you know, as opposed to like a, like whenever I sort of if I'm, you know, trying to hum out a rhythm, like a drum groove, to me, a snare drum is like a snapping sound at the back of your mouth, like a K sound. And he's kind of doing, because he's got like a reverb on the snare, like a gated reverb. It's like almost like a sort of sound. And that, anyway, let's jump in. Let's just.
Yeah, man on the road, he doing promo.
There's that snare.
Said keep our business on the low. I'm just trying to get you out the friend zone. Cause you look even better than the photos.
What is that sound?
To dress attention, yeah. I was coming since your friend's home. Keep on trying to hide it, but your friends know, no. I only got you minutes. I've the only got that open.
Panning effects. Look, I'm gonna say it up front. Obviously, and if you disagree with me on this, you are 100% wrong, right? As someone who's recorded a bunch of vocals and done a lot of things over the last 20 years, this is absolute fact, right? He's playing with reverbs, delays, and panning. And I want to say up front that in no way, in my opinion, detracts from his ability and talent. And I know I've said before in videos that people are using these effects, and people are flat out telling me that I'm incorrect. But you can't have a panning delayed reverb from a mono microphone. So it is 100% studio effects. However, what I want to talk about is how beautifully and artistically he's using those effects to embellish the sounds and the ideas and the concepts that he's producing with his mouth. It's just, the production is just as artistic as his ability to produce the sounds in the first place. And that is really interesting.
Dress attention, yeah. I was coming since your friend's home. Keep on trying to hide it, but your friends know, no.
And like, no. And it gradually gets more breathy, like it's got a filter on it. It's amazing. Like, that's real. I'm saying that's a real vocal effect, but it's just the way that he can manipulate the sound. Like, he's doing an impression of a produced beat, right? Or a produced, vocal on over a EDM or whatever ambient beat.
But your friends know, no. I only got you minutes.
Oh, the little ticking hi-hat.
I only love it when you touch me. Feel me. When I walked up to feel me.
Come on. He's got a great singing voice too. How are you? Yeah, so, these little affectations, but the way that, and here's what blows my mind about this performance, right? He's not using monitors. And I mean, technically you can record with like studio monitors, like speakers, playing back what you're doing live. But it's generally not a good practice because it adds like room sound. You end up with like an echo in the recording that's really hard to get rid of, right? So I assume he's doing this acoustically, right, with no sound production or anything like that. And as we all know, a big part of beatboxing comes from the manipulation of the microphone. The proximity effect adds a lot of bass. The closer you get the microphone, you're going to get a lot more low end than you would if you were doing it acoustically without the advantage of having a microphone. But he's not hearing the depths of those notes the way that they will sound to our ears through the recording. He just knows what it's going to sound like in post. And he's leaning into these parts that have these big sweeping ambient reverbs and delays and stuff on them. as if he's already producing it in his head, saying, okay, I'll make this sound, and then in post, I'm going to add all of this stuff to it to make it sound big and lush and open. And that's crazy foresight, right? It's insane. It really doesn't make a lot of sense. It just, he's playing 4D chess. That's what it is. And I mean, these are the kind of interesting things that you don't, they aren't immediately obvious if you just watch this and listen back. But me having the experience of working in studios and knowing what effects and stuff he's using in post, the ability for him to produce this vocal one take and know that, essentially be able to envision what the end result is going to sound like before even adding the production to it, is just crazy. Just going to jump back a bit.
To trust only you.
Little reverse hits.
I only call you when it's survive the only
Come on.
side. I only love it when you touch me. Tell me. Did you tell me? Yeah, I only call you when it's survive the only I only love it when you touch me. Not feel me, but not feel me, but not
Oh my God.
feel me. Yeah.
Dude. Just that, like, you saved a lot of the complexity there for the end. The coordination, just every little articulation is perfectly accurate and articulated and detailed. And if it has like a sweeping filter effect vocally across it to make it sound synthesized or whatever, it's each little articulation of it is perfectly aligned to create that arc or that sweep or whatever. Where is it?
Not feel me, but not feel me.
You can hear almost like, it almost sounds like you can hear the wood of the speakers reproducing the sound through like a vintage synth or something like that, or a vintage drum synth or something. It's wild.
Not feel me, but not feel me, but not feel me. Yeah.
Yeah. What the hell is that? It's crazy that like I mean, I know if this is your thing, this is what you do. You probably walks around all day beatboxing, coming up with new sounds and stuff. But having an expansive palette and also having the ability to maturely piece all of those little things together to have something, or to create something that flows and has a really cool motif to it and things, is that's the real artistry, because anybody can make sounds, but being able to make all the sounds and then choosing in some sort of like a heightened capacity to piece all of those together to reproduce a piece of art that's already been written, right? I mean, I'm not familiar with The Weeknd's song. I'm assuming based on that, I can kind of get a feel for what it probably sounds like. But the fact that like he's taking all of these little articulations and flourishes and things like that and throwing them together in a really tasteful way that sort of maintains the flavor of the whole piece throughout. It's got that kind of dreamy aesthetic to it. He's a true artist, man. I really believe that. Like, talent manifests itself in so many different ways. And you know, this is a supremely talented human being. Again, fill me in. I'd love to know, who is this guy? Tell me more about Taras or Taras. Because I'm assuming this isn't his first video. I'm sure he's known in the beatboxing community and things like that. But let me know. Where should I go next as well? I'd love to hear more about stuff like this. I do like this sort of more like less traditional beatboxy sort of stuff. But yeah, phew, all right. Consider me mind blown. It's blown. It's like the back of my head. You can't see it. It's no longer there, right? That's the other thing too. Actually, I forgot to mention. his accuracy, like his pitch acuity, when he's just throwing in these little vocal samples and hits and little things, are always precisely on point as well. Because it's one thing to know how to make a bunch of sounds. It's a different thing to understand pitch and to be able to articulate what you're hearing in your mind through your mouth, with particularly things that are percussive or really sharp and don't give you the ability to sort of massage it into pitch after you've started singing the note or whatever. Pentatonics are amazing at that, actually. And in fact, any of the a cappella groups, they really need to be on point with their pitch accuracy, right? And this guy's got that in spades. I would be really surprised if I found out this guy had no singing training or no singing ability to begin with, and he's just sort of moved into this path of like providing his own rhythms and stuff like that. Anyway, look, I've waffled on too much. Thanks again for watching. If you feel like I've brightened your day at all, feel free to support the channel just by buying me a coffee. All these videos get demonetized, so anything you can help me out with there really does help support the channel. If there's any communities or anything like that that you think might enjoy this video, please feel free to share it and everything as well. As many eyeballs on this as possible also helps the channel dramatically. Thanks again, guys. Stay primal. Hit me up in the comments. I'll catch you on the next one.